Hello there, biology and biology foundation students. Today I am going to be doing a tutorial for you on your next portfolio, which you might think is about fungi. I want to caution you in advance that this portfolio, is not about fungi at all, and in fact it can easily be something that you're misled into believing that there is a portfolio about fungi. When you look at your course tree, you will see a portfolio icon right here next to where it says Fungi 2. And if you were to look at your planner, you would probably also see that symbol in Unit 2, Lesson 8. Now, what this is just the drop box for you to turn in a portfolio that you had been working on for the week and a half prior to when that Dropbox is available. So you're going to look at this Dropbox and it's going to be confusing because it says, turn in your CDC epidemiologist portfolio. When in fact earlier in the lesson you were actually doing a lab on prokaryotic life. And as you might see in the lab, they actually give you the answer key and stuff for that in-lesson lab that you're working on, so that one does not get turned in. In fact, if you're paying close attention, earlier on in the Unit 2, Lesson 4 is titled Viruses, Bacteria, and Disease, and there is nothing next to it, no icon. And that's because you're going to be given a few lessons to do your work before you have to turn it in. Okay? So moving over to this part of the portfolio, you're going to talk about how do people get diseases and what causes diseases and that kind of thing. So we're going to be looking at some modern day diseases and some that you might not hear about so much these days, but they still do exist. And you're going to be reporting on them. You're going to be playing the role of an epidemiologist, which is a scientist who studies outbreaks of diseases. They study epidemics or pandemics. Epidemics are widespread illness and pandemics are locally spread. There's like a local group that has that illness. But these are all infectious diseases. So that means that you can spread the disease from one person to another. So there's lots of different types of infectious diseases. Here is a list of some infectious diseases here. And as you can see, there's a bunch of different ones listed, including whooping cough, viral meningitis, pneumonia, Burkitt's lymphoma, botulism, mononucleosis, typhoid fever, dengue fever, salmonella, encephalitis, cholera, fever blisters or cold sores they're called, anthrax, German measles, bubonic plague, mumps, Rocky Mountain spotted fever, polio, Hansen's disease, also called leprosy, rabies, diphtheria, shingles, scarlet fever, smallpox, MRSA, West Nile virus, E. coli 0157H7, which is a specific variety of E. coli that actually causes infectious foodborne illness. Not all E. coli does. Ebola, Legionnaire's disease, and SARS. Additionally, the next 2 pages here lists some additional diseases: Ebola in Africa, measles in California, any foodborne illness outbreaks such as E. coli and salmonella, non-polio enterovirus in North America, AIDS, and MRSA. Now I'm going to be modifying this portfolio a little bit because it asks you to choose one of these 6 diseases here and to focus on these specific outbreaks. And I'm going to be allowing you to broaden that base. You can go back to slide 3 and you can pick any one of these diseases from slide 3. You can also pick, one of these, but those are also mentioned in slide 3. And in addition to that, I have a set of diseases that I'm going to be posting, and some of them are overlapping from what you already saw, and some are different. So my list includes rabies, toxoplasmosis, malaria, Zika virus, which is in the news right now, dengue fever, brain-eating amoeba, cholera, pertussis, pneumococcal disease, basically it causes pneumonia, Lyme's disease, trichomoniasis, giardia, leprosy, black plague, smallpox, tuberculosis, trichinosis, West Nile, and anthrax. So there's going to be some overlap with that last list, but these are all infectious diseases that are, not influenza, not the common cold, not things we've heard about, time and time again. These are things that you may or may not come in contact with in your life, but many of these are present in the United States or within the areas surrounding the United States, and are possible that you might be, at risk for those at some point in your life. Now, what do you need to do to know about these diseases? Well, first of all, we need to know what causes the disease, because not all diseases are caused by viruses or bacteria. In fact, some diseases are caused by small organisms called protists. So you might get like amoebas or other types of small single-celled organisms that cause disease that are not bacteria, eukaryotic organisms. Bacteria, remember, are prokaryotic. You may also find that there are fungi that cause disease. There's some infectious fungus agents that can make you sick. So you need to know what causes that disease. What is the infectious agent? So I need you to identify what virus, bacteria, protist, or fungus is responsible for that disease. How does it spread, and how is it treated? Going back a slide, tell us what are the symptoms of the disease. If you're sick, how would you know you're sick? Tell us the history of the disease. Who first discovered it? Or was it, where were the first cases found? Currently, how likely is somebody to get better from that disease if they get sick? How many people are currently infected? And have there been any outbreaks recently? This is the tricky one, evolution. How did the disease become to infect humans? Where did it originate? Okay, sometimes that's going to be hard to determine with older diseases, but many of the newer emerging diseases, we can trace those back to usually to some sort of animal carrier. What are the risk factors for getting the disease, and how can you prevent it? Anything else relevant or interesting to the public? Are they trying to develop a vaccine for the disease? Is there a vaccine for the disease? Have there been any people who have survived even though it's a deadly disease? And how did they survive that disease? Okay, so make sure you try to stay up to date with your research, because you will find that there are new breakthroughs in these types of diseases all the time. So you need to do a presentation, and it can be a slideshow, an oral presentation, a speech basically, and you have to do the speech and send me the transcript for the speech. And it also can be a skit, although that's kind of hard to do when we only have one person. In the past, most people have done the slideshows, and I recommend including narration in your slideshow. So I will also have a link below that gives you a YouTube video explaining how to include narration in your slideshow. It's really super easy, and then you can kind of talk about the slides as you go through them. And the only person that hears that is moi, only me, okay? Make sure you include a lot of images in your slideshow. Make it interesting to look at. Let's see what it does. Let's see the organism that causes it. Let's see some of the things that can help you prevent it. Visualization is so much more interesting than just words on a screen. Remember, your job as an epidemiologist is to inform the public. So what websites work well? Well, one of them is the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC. The CDC has a wealth of information about different diseases. And they have a search box. You can search for the disease in particular. You can just search for diseases and conditions, and they'll give you an alphabetical list here. These are infectious diseases. Well, no, they're not just infectious diseases. They're just emerging or infectious diseases. And you could look something up, right? So if I might look up, let's see, they have black lung here. I don't see, maybe I can put the search and see if it gives me information. Okay, so I searched up brain-eating amoeba, and it gave me the name of it, Naegleria fowleri amoeba, and then it gives a lot of information on that. So that's a great resource. Okay, another one that's a good resource is the National Institutes of Health. Okay, so this is a national organization that deals with health, not just in the US, but around the world, and they're very similar to the CDC. But they also have their own search box, and they have their own alphabetical list of diseases. Aside from these two sources, which are great resources, you are able to use other resources, including news information sites like the CNN and MSNBC, the New York Times. Any kind of a news agency that is dealing out information would be good. University websites work very well if there's a university that does research on epidemiology. Any types of science journals or medical journals work very well. Make sure you give credible information. Okay, you don't want to be using some Joe Schmo's blog. You want to make sure what you get is credible information. So using your, hang on a second. Using your EBSCO host to try to search up information works really well. And I'm just going to put that on here real quick. I'm trying to find mine is sometimes tricky. Here we go. Go to EBSCO and then go to databases. And I would just go ahead and select all. And I might put in here, let's see, I wanted to do, I don't know, let's say, I spelled it wrong, Pro-C, okay? So they're giving me a lot of information here, okay? And that gives you some good information. You know that's going to be credible information. Good place to look. So, when you turn this in, it's going to be a slideshow, and I do want to have a slide that shows your references. Okay, that's going to be worth some points as well. I would prefer to have it narrated and to have it full of pictures. Make sure you answer all these questions that are given. And also look at my website. I will have the list of the additional types of diseases you can use, along with these and the ones on slide 3. And I will also have a link to a YouTube video showing you how to narrate. Hopefully that helps. If you have any more questions, feel free to let me know. Remember, even though you're working on this in Unit 2, Lesson 4, you're not turning it into Lesson 8. So that gives you a good week, 2 weeks to get it done. Have a great day, everyone.